At this moment, Ding Xiang was both shocked and terrified. He was shocking that the Sword Emperor could actually control Exalt Realm experts. Those were Exalt Realm experts. How exactly did he accomplish that? Moreover, how does he possess 4 Dao artifacts? Those are Dao artifacts. He was terrified by Yang Ye's strength because if he hadn't sacrificed a low-grade heaven rank armor earlier, then he would have probably been transformed into bits and pieces by those rays of light. Is he really at the spirit realm and not the Exalt realm? When he thought about the might of those 4 Dao artifacts, Ding Xiang couldn't help but shudder. At this moment, there were no thoughts of revenge in his mind. At the very least, there were none for now. All he wanted to do right now was to flee as far as possible, and get far away from that little monster. Right at this moment, the tip of a sword suddenly appeared before the center of his forehead, and then it pierced through his forehead while Ding Xiang's eyes had almost bulged out from their sockets from the shock he experienced. How could that be possible? I don't want to die just yet. Ding Xiang's eyes were opened wide and filled with unwillingness. Even until the moment death arrived, Ding Xiang was still unable to accept his death and the fact he'd even died at the hands of a spirit realm profounder. It wasn't long before color left Ding Xiang's eyes, and he crashed down from midair. When he saw Ding Xiang perish, Yang Yi waved his hand and took Hong and the others into his tiny vortex before he slumped weakly to the ground. Moreover, there was a bitter expression throughout his eyes, because he'd really severely over-exhausted himself this time. At this moment, he didn't even have the strength to life a finger while his mind felt extremely heavy. It simply felt like someone had struck him heavily on the head with an iron rod. He'd thought that 3 Exalt Realm experts, the sword formation, and his sword domain should be able to kill Ding Xiang, but he'd underestimated the strength of a 5th-rank Exalt Realm expert. Even though he'd heavily injured Ding Xiang still had energy to flee, and that was something he hadn't expected. Could Yang Yi allow Ding Xiang to escape? Of course couldn't, because Ding Xiang knew his secrets, and Yang Yi would have to face endless future troubles if he allowed Ding Xiang to escape. Moreover, he didn't want to breed calamity for himself in the future, because if he couldn't kill Ding Xiang now, then it would be extremely difficult for him to catch Ding Xiang by surprise and kill Ding Xiang with a single strike if Ding Xiang was ready for him. At that time, it was clearly too late to order Hong and the others to chase after Ding Xiang, so he had no other choice but to utilize Void Flash. However, the consequences of utilizing Void Flash again was exhausting every shred of profound energy within his body, and it had even almost sucked him dry. Severe over-exhaustion of profound energy was extremely harmful to the body, just like this very moment. Besides his eyes, which could still move, every other part of his body felt as if it didn't belong to him. Right at this moment, Ding Xiaoyao suddenly opened her eyes and glanced towards the surroundings before her gaze descended onto Yang Yi, who laid there in the distance. She frowned upon noticing him. Has he died? In next to no time, she noticed that Yang Yi was still breathing, and she couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Since Yang Yi was still breathing, then it represented that Ding Xiang had died. Ding Xiaoyao stood up slowly and walked towards Yang Yi. Yang Ye's heart constricted when he sensed her walking towards him. Would I be at her mercy if she were to attack me in my current state? Damn it! I should have hit her harder if I knew this would have happened. Yang Yi couldn't help but curse in his heart. Even though he felt that she wouldn't do anything to him, he didn't want his life to be in the hands of another. Unfortunately, he couldn't do anything about it right now. Ding Xiaoyao walked over to Yang Ye's side, squatted down, sized him up, and then said, "You seem to be really heavily injured." Yang Yi was speechless. Ding Xiaoyao held her chin up with her hands and stared fixedly at Yang Yi while she said, "Even though I don't know how you killed Ding Xiang, I have to say that you're really extraordinary. That fellow, Luo Jun, is really misfortunate to have someone like you as his enemy." Are you looking at me in that way because you want to tell me something? He didn't even have a bit of profound energy left right now while he couldn't withdraw the top-grade energy stones within the tiny vortex as well. Yang Yi really wanted to ask her for some energy stones so that he could absorb energy as soon as possible to recover. However, he didn't even have the strength to open his mouth right now. Yang Yi decided in his heart that he absolutely couldn't allow himself to overexhaust his profound energy like this in the future, because he really didn't want to experience such a feeling of powerlessness again. Do you want me to do something? Then you should tell me. How would I know what you want if you don't tell me about it? Only if you tell me would I be able to help you, otherwise, I wouldn't know how to help you. If I don't help you, then you won't be able to recover. What if a beast were to come to this desolate mountain? What would you do then? So hurry up. Ding Xiaoyao blinked as she spoke. Yang Yi. Are you unable to speak? Ding Xiaoyao continued. That's truly a pity. Since you can't speak, then I can't help you do anything. So, I'll have no choice but to flee myself if a beast were to arrive here later. You wouldn't blame me for doing that, right? I'll take your silence as tacit approval. She's taking revenge. At this moment, Yang Yi understood that she was definitely taking revenge on him for hitting her on the butt just now. Otherwise, how could she be unable to discern with the intelligence she possessed that he'd overexhausted his energy and required a huge amount of energy to recover? What was it like to suffer instant karma? Yang Yi understood how it felt right now. Ding Xiaoyao suddenly stretched out her hand to pinch Yang Ye's cheek and grinned as she said, "Don't glare at me. Weren't you very imposing just now? Why don't you do it again? I'll bury you alive if you continue glaring at me. It would definitely be aggrieving for a sword emperor to be buried alive, right?" What did Yang Yi feel right now? All he knew was that if he recovered his strength, then the first thing he wanted to do was hit her on the butt until it got swollen. Because it was the first time he'd been humiliated like this throughout his life. Ding Xiaoyao removed her hand from Yang Ye's face and said, "Stop glaring at me. I would have buried you alive by now if I intended to. I never intended to humiliate you as well. I just wanted to tell you to always respect others at all times, especially women. Understand? I know you did it on impulse and it wasn't intentional, but did you think about how I felt? I presume you didn't, otherwise, you wouldn't have acted so indifferently." Yang Yi. Ding Xiaoyao withdrew an top-grade energy stope and placed it on Yang Ye's palm, and then released the energy within it, so that Yang Yi could absorb it. Yang Yi heaved a sigh of relief in his heart when he witnessed this scene, and then he glanced at Ding Xiaoyao as he thought, "She really is an interesting fellow." Ding Xiaoyao's gaze descended onto void flash that floated by Yang Ye's side, and it caused Yang Ye's heart to tremble. Would she try to kill me and seize it? Unfortunately, even though he had profound energy to absorb right now, it was truly too little. According to the current degree of overexhaustion his body suffered, it would take at least 2 top-grade energy stones and 2 hours of time before he could move again. So, he would really be in danger if she aroused any ill intent. She withdrew her gaze and gazed at him before she said, "Are you think about whether I would kill you and seize it? Truthfully speaking, I'm quite tempted. Even my Ding clan only has a single Dao artifact." Yang Yi. Yang Yi watched as Ding Xiaoyao stretched out her hand to grab Void Flash, and it caused his heart to constrict. She wouldn't really intend to kill me and take it, right? She's only at the spirit realm and seems to be weak and sickly, so her strength should probably be insufficient to break through my defenses, right? But it would be difficult to say for sure since she would be using Void Flash to stab me. Ding Xiaoyao didn't stab him with it and just placed it in his hand, and then she stretched out her hand and helped Yang Yi up. After that, she turned around and allowed Yang Yi to lay on her back before she carried Yang Yi as she walked towards the distance. Yang Yi felt speechless again. Ding Xiang had fostered a dark beast, that bear from before, and he left it behind in order to tear space apart and teleport in pursuit of us. But that bear will definitely track Ding Xiang's smell and come here. So, we must leave this place as soon as possible, otherwise, we would both become its dinner once it arrives here, said Ding Xiaoyao. Yang Yi nodded in his heart upon hearing this, and he felt that she did make sense. However, he didn't understand why she didn't form wings with her profound energy. After all, flying was always faster than walking. As if she knew what he was thinking, Ding Xiaoyao said, "Even though I've attained the spirit realm, certain reasons have caused me to be unable to utilize profound energy. As for the exact reason, we can talk about it in the future." In any case, you just have to pray that bear is stupid and doesn't rush over here too soon. Otherwise, it would definitely disregard everything and pursue us once it finds out that Xiang is dead. If you still haven't recovered at that time, then you should know what the consequences would be. Yang Yi rolled his eyes. She really is too intelligent. She's like a parasite that resides in my mind and knows everything I'm thinking about. She really is a freak. Roar. Just around an hour after the two of them left, a furious roar that shook the heavens resounded from Still Ridge, and then the entire expanse of Still Ridge trembled. Yang Ye's heart shook. He knew that the bear had definitely noticed Xiang's corpse. The beast was an exalt-rank dark beast and possessed intelligence that wasn't inferior to a human, so the bear would definitely chase up to them. However, he needed at least another hour to recover his ability to move. Moreover, it was merely the ability to move. In next to no time, Yang Yi and Ding Xiaoyao felt the entire ground start to tremble, and Yang Yi knew that the bear was getting closer to them. Ding Xiaoyao placed Yang Yi on the ground, took a deep breath, and then glanced at him as she said, "I'll marry you if you can kill that bear as well. All right? I really don't want to die right now." Yang Yi was completely speechless. Yang Yi suddenly felt a trace of respect towards her. Even though she was joking, it showed that she wasn't afraid of death and was just slightly unwilling to go. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to joke at a time like this. Yang Yi respected those who were unafraid of death because he was extremely afraid of death at most times. Bang! The ground quaked as an enormous black bear appeared near them. Am I really going to die? There was no fear in Ding Xiaoyao's eyes as she gazed at the enormous bear, and there was only a trace of reluctance. I didn't die to my illness yet, am about to die in the mouth of this bear. Life really is unpredictable. Fortunately, I have someone to accompany me in death. I can be the only person in history to have the Sword Emperor accompany me in death, right? Ding Xiaoyao couldn't help but gaze at Yang Yi when she thought up to this point. Yet she saw Yang Yi grin at her as he said, "Marry me? I'm sorry, but I don't dare to marry you." As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Yi waved his right hand, and then Hong and Black One appeared here. Spatial cage. Spatial cage. Their voices resounded, and then the bear was instantly frozen on the spot. After that, countless rays of cold light flashed by, and then that bear fell slowly before the joint forces of Hong and Black One while Ding Xiaoyao watched with astonishment. Bang! The ground quaked violently as the black bear lost all vitality. Ding Xiaoyao's gaze descended onto Hong and Black One, and then she took a deep look at them before her gaze moved to Yang Yi instead. She glanced at him and said, "I never expected that young Master Yang had two seniors at the Exalt realm protecting you from the shadows. I really made a fool of myself just now. What a smart woman." Yang Yi knew that she definitely discerned that they weren't ordinary profounders. However, she was very smart and didn't expose it. Yang Yi felt very fortunate that she hadn't sided with Luo Jun. Otherwise, he would probably have a horrible time in the future with the intelligence she possessed. Yang Yi said, "You don't have to say that. Since I've revealed some secrets in front of you, Miss Ding, then it represents that I trust you. At the very least, we must trust each other when we work together. Otherwise, how could we possibly work together? Right? What else could I do when I feared that you would kill me to keep me silent?" said Ding Xiaoyao in a light voice. Yang Ye's face darkened. Am I such a person? Actually, that thought had really passed through his mind. Let's return to the Ding clan. Ding Xiaoyao said, "My father is unconscious, and Ding Xiang is dead, so there's no one to lead the Ding clan. It's very likely for the Ding clan to fall into internal strife if the Sky Devil sect and the other sects attack it. I must return as soon as possible to take control of the situation." On the other hand, young Master Yang would need to make some preparations before heading to the Central Territory. Otherwise, it might cause you to waste an innumerable amount of time. Yang Yi nodded and said, "Then let's go." Presently, he'd recovered a little strength. Even though he still couldn't fight, it wasn't a problem for him to walk. "Carry me." Ding Xiaoyao gazed at him as she spoke these words. Yang Yi was stunned and thought he'd heard wrongly. He asked, "What?" "I asked you to carry me." Ding Xiaoyao said, "I carried you just now, so now it's your turn." Couldn't you have just said that you can't walk anymore? The corners of Xianxia's mouth twitched. Even though she was at the spirit realm, her body was even weaker than an ordinary person, and he felt that she was already completely exhausted after carrying him just now. Xiangxia felt slightly curious about exactly what sickness she suffered from, to the point her body was actually weak to such an extent. Even though he was curious, he didn't ask because he wasn't a great doctor. Xiangxia walked over to her, turned around, and squatted down. Meanwhile, Ding Xiaoyao didn't act bashfully and climbed onto his back. As he smelt the faint fragrance that she emanated and felt her soft and delicate body on his back, Xiangxia couldn't help but have a slightly unusual feeling in his heart at the beginning. However, he quickly suppressed that feeling because the woman on his back was someone worthy of respect. Moreover, he didn't want to unnecessarily affect their cooperative relationship. It wasn't that Xiangxia hadn't thought about allowing Hong and the others to take them to the Ding clan, but Xiangxia wanted to avoid any and all mishaps. They were at the outer area of Still Ridge right now, so it would definitely cause a huge amount of trouble if others noticed Hong, Black 1 and Black 2. After all, his ability to refine Exalt Realm experts in puppets was a trump card of his, and he didn't want to expose it. Moreover, Xiangxia had decided that he wouldn't summon the three of them unless he had no other choice, because he would never be able to improve himself if he relied on them for everything. Only his own strength was true strength. Xiangxia understood that principle well. Xiangxia carried her on his back under the moonlight. In the beginning, Xiangxia's footsteps were very slow, but it wasn't long before he grew faster and faster, and then Xiangxia could travel on his sword after around an hour later. You said you didn't dare to marry me just now. Was it because I'm too intelligent? Ding Xiaoyao spoke abruptly. Xiangxia was stunned. He didn't know why she suddenly asked this question, but he smiled and said, "You're the smartest person I've seen in my entire lifetime, and you're intelligent to the point it's quite scary to me. Truthfully speaking, if you were my enemy, then I would do everything I could to kill you. Fortunately, you're on my side, so it should be Luo Jun who will have the headache." "Answer my question," said Ding Xiaoyao. "You wouldn't have really intended to marry me, right?" Xiangxia feigned surprise and said, "I have a wife." He refused to answer her question because she was petty just like him. So, who knew whether she would get angry if he said that he didn't dare to marry her because she was too intelligent. He didn't want to offend her. Not because he feared her, but because he didn't want her to have him on her mind. Ding Xiaoyao glanced at him and said, "Head down. The ocean of anarchy is just 5 kilometers away. It's too conspicuous to continue flying on a sword now." Xiangxia nodded when he heard this, and then he issued a command in his heart and descended down on his sword. He'd merely walked forward for a while when a group dashed over abruptly. Xiangxia flipped his palm and took Dragonbone in his grasp. "It's the forces of my Ding clan," said Ding Xiaoyao in a soft voice. The group stopped just around 10 m away from Xiangxia and Ding Xiaoyao. It was an old man, a young man, and a young woman who were in the lead of the group. The young man was visibly delighted when he saw Ding Xiaoyao, but his smile instantly froze when he noticed that she was being carried on Xiangxia's back, and a wisp of rage flashed through his eyes. The young man gazed at Xiangxia and spoke furiously. "Who the fuck are you? How dare you carry my cousin sister on your back? Is my cousin sister someone you're worthy of carrying? Quickly put her down." Xiangxia, who was just about to put Ding Xiaoyao down, was stunned when he heard this. Where did this idiot come from? Xiangxia changed his mind. He didn't put her down but tightened his grip on her legs instead, and he secured her on his back as he said, "I'm your daddy." "My what?" The young man was stunned, and then he exploded with rage upon recovering from his shock. Swoosh! A sword appeared in his hand, and he pointed it at Xiangxia as he said in a ghastly voice, "Kid, it doesn't matter who you are. You, your loved ones, and everyone related to you will die for what you've just said. That's the price for insulting me. Qin Hao." Xiangxia didn't even spare a glance at that man called Qin Hao. He put Ding Xiaoyao down and said, "It doesn't matter if I kill him, right?" Actually, he wasn't a bloodthirsty person, but there were many occasions where he had to kill even if he didn't like to kill. Because Qin Hao had revealed killing intent in his eyes upon noticing Ding Xiaoyao on Yang Ye's back. Yang Yi wasn't stupid. He naturally knew that Qin Hao had revealed kill intent towards him because of Ding Xiaoyao. There really was nothing between him and her, but he didn't want to explain because he would just bring insult onto himself. Moreover, why should he explain? Who was this fellow to deserve an explanation from him? Besides that, explaining was useless as well because only strength mattered in this world. Since that fellow intended to kill him, then he would naturally not hold back. The only reason he hadn't attacked immediately and killed that fellow was because of Ding Xiaoyao. Ding Xiaoyao was just about to speak when she heard Yang Yi. But Qin Hao suddenly started laughing from extreme rage and spoke before her. Kill me? Haha. What a joke. Someone actually intends to kill me in the ocean of anarchy. Good. Good. Come on. I'm standing right here. You're my grandson if you don't kill me today. Yang Yi shrugged towards Ding Xiaoyao. The later sighed lightly, walked over to Qin Hao, and then swung her palm against his face. Slap! The right side of Qin Hao's face instantly turned red. Qin Hao was stunned on the spot. Never had he imagined that his cousin sister, who was always gentle in the past, would actually slap him in public, and it caused him to be slightly dazed. Apologize to young Master Yang, said Ding Xiaoyao in a low voice. You hit me. Qin Hao's face instantly became ferocious as he roared hysterically. You actually hit me for another man. Ding Xiaoyao, we have a marriage agreement between us. Yet you've actually hit your fiancé for another man. You... Slap. Ding Xiaoyao slapped him once more, and it caused his voice to stop abruptly. Meanwhile, the old man and the young woman arrived by Qin Hao's side, and the young woman was instantly infuriated upon noticing Qin Hao's completely red right cheek. She glared angrily at Ding Xiaoyao and said, Cousin sister, to think my older brother has been deep in love and devoted to you. Yet you actually hit him because of another man, and you even asked him to apologize. You've truly disappointed me. The old man frowned and said, Xiaoyao, aren't your actions a little? As her uncle, he'd watched Ding Xiaoyao grow up, and he knew her very well. He knew that she wouldn't act like this for no reason. But Ding Xiaoyao was going a bit too far by acting like this in public and without giving Qin Hao any face. Ding Xiaoyao shook her head and said, Hour of consideration for my aunt. I'm willing to pay a certain price to save your life if you kneel down and apologize. She's investigated Yang Yi, and she knew his character very well. Her judgment of him at that time was that Yang Yi was a vengeful and ruthless madman who acted according to his heart. Qin Hao had aroused killing intent towards Yang Yi, and Yang Yi had done the same. The difference was that the latter could kill the former with ease. She felt slightly regretful that she hadn't explained at the first possible moment, but she knew that it was actually useless, because men were always narrow-minded when it came to women. She couldn't allow Qin Hao to die. It wasn't because she had feelings for him, and it was merely because Qin Hao's mother, her aunt, had raised her. She really couldn't bear to see her aunt feeling sad, and that was the main reason why she'd agreed to the marriage agreement with Qin Hao at that time. Both the old man and young woman were slightly stunned when they heard Ding Xiaoyao, and then their gazes descended onto Yang Yi. They weren't idiots. Since Ding Xiaoyao had spoken such words, then it was definitely because of this sword cultivator who carried a sword chest on his back. Who exactly is he? He's actually able to make Ding Xiaoyao feel so fearful and attach such importance to him? Ding Xiaoyao, stop making up excuses. Qin Hao gazed at her with a ferocious expression, and he said, So what, even if he's the young master of an extraordinary clan, could it be that the joint forces of the Ding clan and my Qin clan would fear them? You're just doing this because you've taken a liking to that pretty boy, right? Haha. I knew it. I knew you didn't like me. I knew that you only agreed to the marriage between us because of my mother. You brought him back with you to tear apart the marriage agreement between us, right? A wisp of disappointment flashed through Ding Xiaoyao's eyes, and then she turned around to gaze at Yang Yi and said, Young Master Yang, killing him won't be beneficial to you at all, and it'll bring a huge amount of trouble to you instead. So, Ding Xiaoyao, shut your mouth. Right at this moment, Qin Hao suddenly shouted furiously, Stop embarrassing the both of us. Qin Hao would like to see how he killed me. When he spoke up to hear, he turned to gaze at Yang Yi and laughed ferociously. Didn't you want to kill me? Come. I'm standing right here. Come here and kill me. If you don't kill me or are unable to kill me today, then you're a fucking... Bang! A red glow instantly surged out from within Yang Ye's body, and it enveloped Qin Hao. The latter's voice stopped abruptly before his legs felt weak, and he just fell to his knees while his eyes were filled with terror. Yang Yi flicked his wrist, and then a ray of light flashed straight towards Qin Hao. Right at this moment, the old man suddenly appeared before Qin Hao, and he slapped his palm towards that ray of light. Bang! The ray of light dispersed into the air, but a blood-red gash that was a few centimeters long had appeared at the center of the old man's palm. The old man's expression changed once more because a third-rank Exalt Realm expert like him had actually been injured by a Spirit Realm Profounder. The old man said in a deep voice, "8th level sword intent. Who exactly are you?" At this moment, the old man understood why Ding Xiaoyao had acted like that just now, because this sword cultivator's identity was definitely not simple. At the very least, it wouldn't be inferior to the Ding clan. Because how could the forces standing behind him be weak when he was able to comprehend 8th level sword intent at such a young age? Yang Yi flipped his palm and void flash appeared in his grasp. Ding Xiaoyao's expression changed a little when she saw this, and then her figure flashed to stand in front of Yang Yi. She was just about to speak when the tip of Yang Ye's sword immediately arrived before her throat. He said, "I'll kill you if you try to stop me again." His mother would always be a taboo to him. Anyone who touched this taboo of his would be sentenced to death. Ding Xiaoyao was stunned. At this moment, she felt icy coldness arise from the bottom of her heart. As she gazed at the indifferent gaze Yang Yi had, she knew that he wasn't joking. He really is ruthless and merciless, as the rumors said. However, she was unable to let Qin Hao die here no matter what. Even though she wanted to kill that idiot Qin Hao as well. But he couldn't be allowed to die because it would definitely make her aunt sad. Ding Xiaoyao's hand shook a little, and then a talisman flashed. After that, a strand of blue light enveloped Qin Hao, and the latter's body shook a little before his body slowly faded away. It was a random teleportation talisman. A true random teleportation talisman. Haha, didn't you want to kill me? Come on and kill me. You can't kill me. Huh? Fucking bastard. Didn't you care a great deal about your loved one? Don't worry. I'll kill all of them before your eyes one day. Ha ha ha. Qin Hao's frenzied voice sounded out at the moment the blue light had almost vanished. Ding Xiaoyao clenched her fists tightly, while her eyes were filled with rage. He's really an idiot. At this moment, she wished for nothing more than to give him a few slaps. Moreover, she would personally kill that idiot if he weren't her aunt's son. Yang Ye's expression was very calm, and so were his eyes. It was like he hadn't heard Qin Hao's words. However, Ding Xiaoyao had a worse feeling in her heart. Fortunately, Yang Yi hasn't attacked me. Perhaps it's out of consideration for the friendship we formed. But in the next moment, she felt a strand of coldness assault her. Yang Yi didn't waste his breath and just exerted a little force with his hand. Void flash stabbed straight towards the center of her brows, and Ding Xiaoyao instantly opened her eyes wide. He really attacked. When Void Flash was less than half an inch away from her, a strand of green light suddenly surged out from within Ding Xiaoyao, and it caused Yang Ye's sword to stop for a moment. However, a strand of red light flashed out from within Yang Yi, and then the green light round Ding Xiaoyao was instantly dispersed. Moreover, she almost slumped weakly to the ground from the pressure of Yang Ye's 8th level sword intent. Yang Yi didn't hesitate to flick his wrist and stab Void Flash straight towards the center of her forehead. Spatial cage. Right at this moment, the old man had finally recovered from his shock, and he was horrified when he noticed that Yang Yi intended to kill Ding Xiaoyao and immediately executed the spatial cage technique. Void Flash stopped once more, and it caused a savage expression to flash through Yang Ye's eyes. Yang Yi spun his right wrist while his sword intent surged out. Bang! The old man's spatial cage was instantly blasted apart. The old man was astounded. He didn't have the time to think and just swiftly slapped his palm at Yang Yi. Yang Ye's eyes narrowed a little, and he slashed Void Flash at the old man. At the same time, he raised his right foot and kicked Ding Xiaoyao in the gut. Bang! Ding Xiaoyao's figure curved into a C as it flew backward for over 100 m, and a mouthful of blood immediately sprayed from her mouth. Hiss! Void flash collided with the old man's palm, and then it pierced through the old man's palm, causing half his palm to fly off into the air while blood sprayed from it. The old man spoke with astonishment. A Dao artifact and 8th level sword intent. Who exactly are you? This time, the old man was truly shocked because Yang Yi hadn't just comprehended 8th level sword intent at such a young age. He even possessed a Dao artifact. He's absolutely not an ordinary person. That fellow, Qin Hao, is truly an idiot. He actually brought such a formidable enemy upon the Ding clan and Qin clan. Yang Yi didn't waste his breath. The profound energy within him surged into void flash, and then a howl instantly resounded from it. Yang Yi held void flash in his left hand as he swiftly slashed it forward. The old man was puzzled. An instant later, the old man's pupils constricted violently while the hair throughout his body stood on end. The old man's figure flashed and vanished on the spot. But it was still too late, and his arm flew off on the spot. When the old man appeared over 100 m away, his eyes didn't just have fear in them. There was even terror there. Exactly which power fostered such a monstrous genius? I'm a 3rd rank Exalt Realm expert, but I was actually almost killed by a single strike of his sword? A wisp of disappointment and unwillingness flashed through Yang Ye's eyes when he failed to kill the old man. After all, his injuries still hadn't healed, and forcefully utilizing Void Flash just now had almost fully exhausted the profound energy within his body. At this moment, he absolutely couldn't utilize Void Flash again. Otherwise, not to mention killing them all, even leaving safely would be a problem for him. Yang Yi turned around to look at the young woman who was completely dumbstruck on the spot. The latter's body trembled when she noticed Yang Ye's gaze, and she spoke with a shivering voice. Don't come any closer. Young Master Yang, have you still not finished venting? Cough. Right at this moment, Ding Xiaoyao walked slowly towards Yang Yi while holding onto her gut. Her countenance was extremely pale, blood covered her lips, her brows were knit together slightly, and the expression of pain on her face was very obvious. Is it worth it to lose your life over such a person? Said Yang Yi. Ding Xiaoyao shook her head and said, I was raised by his mother, and she treats me like her own daughter. So, how could I allow her only son to die before my very eyes? Moreover, if you killed him, then you'll definitely be pursued by the entire Qin clan, and even my Ding clan might participate in it. I know you're unafraid of that. However, have you thought about what would happen to our cooperation if it came to that? Moreover, it's equivalent to pushing my Ding clan and the Qin clan towards Luojun. After all, if we become irreconcilable enemies with you, then we'll have no choice but to side with Luojun. Yang Yi fell silent for a moment before he nodded and said, Then go side with Luojun. As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Yi turned around and left. Perhaps Yang Yi seemed like a rash person, a completely brainless and rash person, in the eyes of others, because he didn't know how to make compromise or be flexible. Just like that incident from before. If he didn't attack Qin Hao, then he just had to endure it a little before he could obtain an ally like the Ding clan and wouldn't have to become enemies with it. Any other person would mostly choose to exercise forbearance in such small matters for the sake of the overall situation. But Yang Yi didn't. He'd chosen to kill Qin Hao, because he was Yang Yi. In his opinion, he would act according to the voice in his heart, and he desired to kill Qin Hao. Why should he wrong himself for the sake of others? As for whether the Ding clan and the Qin clan sided with Luojun, it really wasn't very important to him. His opinion towards allies was one where he would take those he could and wouldn't care if he couldn't get them, because he only believed in himself. Only his own strength was the true path to supremacy. Otherwise, it would be useless no matter how many allies he had. After all, didn't the unfettered one kill his way into the imperial palace of the exalted Han Empire all those years ago? Did he have any allies then? None. Ding Xiaoyao stood silently on the spot. She knew that Yang Yi was determined to kill Qin Hao no matter what. Can I stop him? Perhaps I can, but with that character of his, he'll definitely not spare my Ding clan if I were to stop him, right? Do I really have no other choice but to lead the Ding clan to side with Luo Jun? Would Luo Jun really be able to crush this Sword Emperor? If he can't, then the Ding clan will be truly doomed. The Ding clan must not follow the mortal emperor, otherwise, it'll definitely suffer a monstrous calamity. Xiao Tianji's voice resounded in Ding Xiaoyao's mind. She believed him because it was exactly Xiao Tianji's words that had helped the Ding clan avoid annihilation in the past. Moreover, her ancestor had a good relationship with Xiao Tianji, so it was impossible for him to deceive the Ding clan. But in that way, it put her in a difficult spot. She couldn't side with Luo Jun, yet her relationship with Yang Yi had developed to such an extent. Cousin's sister. Who exactly is he? The young woman walked over to support Ding Xiaoyao up and spoke softly. A wisp of a complicated expression flashed through Ding Xiaoyao's eyes before she said, "He's the Sword Emperor. However, he has another title in the Southern Territory. He's called the Sword Demon. I feel that title suits him better." After he left, the first thing Yang Yi did was obtain information related to the Ocean of Anarchy because he didn't want to be completely ignorant while he was here. There were numerous islands throughout the Ocean of Anarchy, and they were fully documented, but there was over 1 million islands at least. There weren't any dark beasts throughout the Ocean of Anarchy, and there were only oceanic creatures. These oceanic creatures were extremely formidable, and they weren't inferior to the demon beasts of the demon territory. Especially some creatures that lived deep within the ocean. They were existences that even Monarch Realm experts feared. There were a few great powers in the Ocean of Anarchy. Just like Ding Xiaoyao had said, the Sky Devil Sect, Blue Wave Sect, Nebula Sect, Divine Mystery Sect, Qin Clan, and Yi Clan were the strongest. Besides that, the Ding Clan was the strongest amongst them all. However, the Ding clan was kept a comparatively low profile and always left some room to maneuver and survive when they did things, so the Ding clan had a very good reputation in the Ocean of Anarchy. As for the clan that Qin Hao belonged to, the Qin clan, it was only a third-rate clan, and it was only because of the Ding clan that it had risen to become a first-rate clan in the Ocean of Anarchy. However, because the Qin clan never produced any outstanding geniuses, the Qin clan was in a constant decline, and it would have probably been eliminated from the Ocean of Anarchy if it weren't for the Ding clan. After he obtained information about the entire Ocean of Anarchy, Yang Yi found a remote, uninhabited, and desolate island before he withdrew a few extreme-grade energy stones and started to absorb the energy within them. At this moment, the important matter at hand for him was to recover his strength. As for Qin Hao, did he have to worry about Qin Hao going anywhere? As the energy from those extreme-grade energy stones surged incessantly into Yang Ye's body, his countenance started to become rosy. The energy within his body transformed into threads of violet profound energy that flowed into the tiny vortex, and then the tiny vortex dispersed the violet profound energy into his entire body to recover the internal injuries that he'd suffered earlier. Time flowered by slowly, and 6 hours passed just like that. The injuries within Yang Ye's body had been practically healed after he consumed 3 extreme-grade energy stones, and the profound energy within his tiny vortex was filled as well. However, Yang Yi felt slightly helpless because he felt that he was about to advance in his cultivation. If he had a few days of time, then he was confident in his ability to advance into the 3rd rank of the spirit realm. However, he didn't have that much time to waste here. Yang Yi took a light breath of air and stood up, and then his figure flashed towards the distance. He was flying towards the direction of the Qin clan. Even though he didn't want to waste time in the Ocean of Anarchy, he really couldn't do without killing Qin Hao. After she returned to the Ding clan, Ding Xiaoyao was able to quickly take control of the entire Ding clan due to Ding Xiang's death. Once she finished doing that, the first thing she did was to swiftly eliminate all Ding Xiang's remaining forces in the Ding clan. Only then did she truly have full control over the Ding clan. Once she was done with all of that, Ding Xiaoyao started acting against the Sky Devil sect and the other sections. In less than half a day of time, over 10,000 of the islands in their control had been completely wiped clean. Of course, even though it was partially due to the strength of the Ding clan, there was another reason, and it was that those sects didn't resist the Ding clan. Before long, the Sky Devil sect, Blue Wave sect, Nebula sect, and Divine Mystery sect had openly declared their alliance, and all of their forces had converged together. So, The Ding clan stopped when that happened. The Ding clan. Ding Xiaoyao sat at the seat of the host within the Ding clan's assembly room, and there were 3 old men by her side. They were the core figures of the Ding clan. Patriarch, why have we stopped now? Those sects heavily injured the former patriarch and killed Elder Ding Xiang. Even you almost fell into their hands. How can our Ding clan maintain its foothold in the ocean of anarchy without avenging this? In my opinion, we should annihilate all of them in one go. A middle-aged man stood up and spoke angrily. Sit down. One of the old men by Ding Xiaoyao's side glared angrily at the middle-aged man and said, Ding Hai, there's naturally a reason why Xiaoyao has acted in such a way. What are you shouting about? The middle-aged man called Ding Hai puckered his lips. Even though he was slightly displeased, he didn't dare go against the old man and could only sit down unwillingly. Ding Xiaoyao glanced at them and said, I understand how all of you feel, and it's indeed an extremely great humiliation to our Ding clan. I really understand your desire to take revenge. But have all of you thought about why those sects dared to join forces against our Ding clan when they are clearly far inferior to our Ding clan and even have to be mindful not to offend us in the past? The old man who stopped Ding Hai just now frowned as he spoke. Xiaoyao, you mean that someone is supporting them? Ding Xiaoyao nodded and said, if they didn't possess the support of someone, then would they even dare to act against our Ding clan? Since they dared to do so, then it represents that the power supporting them is definitely not inferior to our Ding clan or even superior to our Ding clan. If we continue attacking rashly, then it's very likely that it would provide that power an opportunity to exploit and bring destruction to our Ding clan. Silence filled the room for a while before someone suddenly said, Is it the exalted Han Empire? The expressions of the others changed a little when they heard this. Even though the Ding clan was an overlord in the ocean of anarchy, its forces were nothing in the eyes of the colossus that was the exalted Han Empire. If it was really the exalted Han Empire that was acting against the Ding clan, then the Ding clan would really be in danger. Why aren't we allying ourselves with the exalted Han Empire? One of the others spoke in a low voice. Patriarch, the mortal emperor's rise can't be stopped. Our Ding clan should really not stand before something it can't stop. I suggest that we take the initiative to ally ourselves with the exalted Han Empire. If we're willing to do so, then I presume that the exalted Han Empire will definitely choose us and not those sections. I think that Ding Tsang is right. Another middle-aged man stood up and said, The barrier between continents existed in the past, so our Ding clan could pay no attention to the exalted Han Empire. But now it has been destroyed, so how would our Ding clan defend itself if the exalted Han Empire intends to destroy us? Thus, our Ding clan should take the initiative to become allies with the exalted Han Empire and repair our relationship with it. In next to no time, many more chimed in with agreement, and they suggested that Ding Xiaoyao should allow the Ding clan to form an alliance with the exalted Han Empire. Have all of you forgotten what Mr. Xiao said? Ding Xiaoyao glanced indifferently at them. If she hadn't met Yang Yi, then it was very likely that she would still choose to form an alliance with the exalted Han Empire because it was the best choice for the Ding clan right now. However, after she met Yang Yi, she knew that it was exactly that best choice, which might bring a calamity down upon the Ding clan in the future. Just as Xiao Tianji had said, the exalted Han Empire was very strong. Luo Jun of the exalted Han Empire was the mortal empire, and he even possessed the support of many clans and sections. But was Yang Yi weak? Perhaps the Grand Qing Empire and Dark Beast Empire were inferior to the exalted Han Empire, but what about the Demon Emperor of the Demon Territory? What about Xiao Tianji? With the wisdom Xiao Tianji possessed, if he didn't know something about Yang Yi or had predicted something related to Yang Yi, would he allow his daughter to marry Yang Yi and support Yang Yi? Most importantly, Yang Ye's own potential was extraordinarily terrifying. So long as he didn't die prematurely, then he would definitely become an extraordinary expert like the Unfettered One. After all, the exalted Han Empire's overall strength was much stronger all those years ago, but hadn't it still suffered an attack from the Unfettered One to the point he reached its imperial palace? Of course, there was an even more important reason. It was that both she and her father had almost died this time. Her father was still unconscious right now, and it was all thanks to Luo Jun. So, How could she possibly form an alliance with Luo Jun? The others here fell silent. They couldn't disregard what Xiao Tianji said. He was a legend, and it was exactly a few words from him that allowed the Ding clan to be what it was right now. The old man by Ding Xiaoyao's side shook his head and said, "Little girl, you make the decision. I believe that you won't doom the Ding clan." Ding Xiaoyao fell silent for a while, and then she said, "Let's put this matter aside for now. Let me give it thorough consideration." All of them nodded with understanding. They knew that it was related to the future of the Ding clan, so it naturally couldn't be decided carelessly. Proper consideration was necessary. After they left, Ding Xiaoyao shook her head while a bitter expression appeared in her eyes. At this moment, she suddenly realized that it wasn't Yang Yi who was seeking an alliance with her clan, and it was her clan instead that had to think about how to form an alliance with Yang Yi and the powers that he represented. There was some friendship between her and Yang Yi, so they should have been able to cooperate well. Unfortunately, it was just because of a single person that they seemed like enemies now, and it had even made the Ding clan fall to such an embarrassing state. Qin Hao really deserves death. When she thought about him, Ding Xiaoyao's expression suddenly changed, and then she stood up and shouted, "Uncle Quan, quickly notify the Qin clan to hide Qin Hao immediately." "No, there's no need for that, it's already too late. We're going to the Qin clan." Ding Xiaoyao had been fully occupied by a string of things to do as soon as she returned to the Ding clan, so it caused her to forget Qin Hao. Now that she finally thought of a problem. Was it possible for Yang Yi to spare Qin Hao? The answer was that it was impossible. With Yang Ye's character, he would definitely kill Qin Hao. Moreover, the Qin clan didn't possess any monarch realm expert, so how could it possibly stop Yang Yi? The Qin clan. The Qin clan was situated on an island in the Ocean of Anarchy. After he returned to the Qin clan, Qin Hao almost exploded with rage when he thought about how his fiancée had actually struck him in public and asked him to kneel down and apologize because of another man. That was an extraordinary humiliation to any man. Qin Hao didn't dare look for trouble with Ding Xiaoyao. Even though she was his fiancée in name, he was very clearly aware that it was very easy for her to break it off. Moreover, the slightest mistake might offend the Ding clan, and that might bring a calamity down upon the Qin clan. But he was really unable to swallow this humiliation and anger. While he didn't dare look for trouble with Ding Xiaoyao, he didn't have to worry at all when it was Yang Yi. So, he went to see his mother upon returning to the Qin clan, and then he exaggerated as he described what had happened between him, Ding Xiaoyao, and Yang Yi. Qin Hao's mother was a beautiful woman around the age of 40, and her name was Luo Xiaoying. She was a first-rank Exalt realm expert. Such strength was naturally not the best in the entire Qin clan, but her status in the Qin clan was extremely high because of her relationship with Ding Xiaoyao. Her status was even higher than her husband, Qin Hao's father as well. After she heard him, Luo Xiaoying said, "I raised Ding Xiaoyao myself. She isn't an ungrateful and unfaithful person, so you've probably misunderstood her. But it doesn't matter. It should be fine after I go with you to explain everything to her. As for that man, he actually dared to try and kill my Hauer. I'll absolutely not let him off even if he's a friend of Xiaoyao's." "Mother, he's very strong." Qin Hao's younger sister spoke abruptly. "Even Uncle Ding was almost killed by him. Moreover, he's the Sword Emperor of the Southern Territory. It's best if we don't offend him." She'd witnessed Yang Ye's strength with her own two eyes, and she was really unable to forget it even until now. He'd almost killed an Exalt realm expert while at the second rank of the Spirit realm. That was something she had never even heard of. The Sword Emperor? Luo Xiaoying frowned and said, "What Sword Emperor?" The young woman intended to say something, but Qin Hao spoke before her. "What Sword Emperor? He's just a trash sword cultivator from the Southern Territory." "Qin Lian, who exactly is your older brother?" "Your brother, I have been bullied, but you're actually still speaking on behalf of an outsider. You're such a traitor." The young woman instantly felt wronged. She wanted to say something, but Luo Xiaoying waved her hand and said, "No matter who he is, I won't let him off since he dared to try and kill my son. Give the order for my Qin clan scouts to investigate him and immediately report his whereabouts once they find him. My Qin clan has kept a low profile for so many years, and it's time to kill him and make a show of our strength. I refuse that Xiaoyao will denounce me just for that man. Qin Hao was instantly delighted when he heard this, because killing Ding Xiaoyao's lover would definitely be done once he had his mother's support. Humph, doesn't that fellow really care about his loved ones? I'll send some forces to capture all his loved ones and humiliate them before his very eyes. Let me see how he will look then. A smile of delight instantly appeared on the corners of Qin Hao's mouth when he thought of such a scene. Meanwhile, 3 black-clothed figures had snuck into the Qin clan, and then a 4th-rank Exalt Realm expert of the Qin Han died mysteriously in his own room. Yang Yi felt that he was benevolent because he only wanted to kill Qin Hao and not annihilate the entire Qin clan. He'd merely sent Hong and the others to sneak into the Qin clan to search for Qin Hao. But he hadn't expected that the 3 of them had entered the room of an Exalt Realm expert. So, Yang Yi had no choice but to order his death because that Exalt Realm expert had noticed the 3 of them. Unfortunately, the 3 of them had carelessly allowed the other 4 Exalt Realm experts of the Qin clan to notice their presence. So, Yang Yi had no choice but to order Hong, Black 1, and Black 2 to kill those Exalt Realm experts as well. Yang Yi had investigated the Qin clan before he came here, and he knew that the Qin clan had 6 Exalt Realm experts. However, all of them weren't very highly ranked in the Exalt Realm. The strongest amongst them was merely at the 7th rank of the Exalt Realm, and he hadn't gotten there via normal means. So, while it was slightly difficult to assassinate that 7th rank Exalt Realm expert, the 3 of them had still been able to join forces and kill him. In other words, the Qin clan only had a single Exalt Realm expert right now. Yang Yi put Hong and the others into the tiny vortex before he appeared openly within the Qin clan. The virtue of the heavens is to not kill innocents. Qin clan, I only want Qin Hao. Hand him over and I'll leave immediately. If you don't, then the heavens might forget its virtue today. Yang Ye's voice was enhanced by profound energy, and it rumbled throughout the ears of every single member of the Qin clan. In an instant, everyone within the Qin clan was shocked. Someone has actually come to our Qin clan to cause trouble. Doesn't that fellow know that our Qin clan is protected by the Ding clan? Who's so audacious to do such a thing? They had such thoughts because they weren't aware that 5 of the Qin clan's Exalt Realm experts were already dead. The assassination techniques of Hong, Black 1, and Black 2 was extremely sharp, and they'd even joined forces while Yang Yi supported them with the Immortal binding rope. So, killing an Exalt Realm expert merely took a few breaths of time. Thus, no one had noticed the deaths of those Exalt Realm experts yet when Yang Yi openly revealed himself in the Qin clan. Luo Xiaoying, Qin Hao, and Qin Lian appeared before Yang Yi. As they gazed at the corpses of the Qin clan's guards that filled the surroundings, a cold glow flashed in Luo Xiaoying's eyes, while terror appeared in the eyes of Qin Hao and Qin Lian. Especially Qin Lian. She even couldn't help but take a few steps back. Luo Xiaoying had a gloomy expression as she gazed at Yang Yi, who carried a sword chest on his back, and she said, "My Qin clan was just about to go look for you, but I never expected that you would come here and give your life away. That's fine as well. It saves my clan the trouble. Needless to say, you're very brave to actually dare to attack my Qin clan by yourself. Right, I presume you definitely have something to rely on, but I'm not interested in listening to it." Cut the crap. Yang Yi waved his hand and interrupted that old woman in front of him. He said, "Hand that fellow by your side over to me and I'll leave. If you don't, then I'll take him myself." Luo Xiaoying started laughing from extreme rage, and she said, "Take him? Why don't you give it a try?" Right at this moment, a middle-aged man suddenly arrived before Luo Xiaoying, and he had a ghastly pale countenance and eyes filled with terror as he spoke with a trembling voice. "Madam, all the Exalt Realm expert of our Qin clan, including the Patriarch, have had their throats slit." Luo Xiaoying was first stunned, and then she suddenly shouted, "How could that be possible? How could that be possible? You're talking nonsense. I can certify that he's right." Yang Yi flipped his palm and Void Flash appeared in his grasp before he walked slowly towards Qin Hao and said, "Don't worry, I won't kill you immediately because that would truly be letting you off lightly. I don't have the habit to torture, but I can change it for you. In short, I'll make you feel like dying is a luxury." Qin Hao's expression changed, and his eyes were filled with fear as he watched Yang Yi walk step by step towards him. Luo Xiaoying stood in front of Qin Hao, and a trace of fear appeared in her eyes as she gazed at him. She said, "Who exactly are you? Don't you know of the relationship between my Qin clan and the Ding clan?" "I do." Yang Yi nodded, and then he pointed Void Flash at Qin Hao and said, "Not to mention the Ding clan. I would kill him without hesitation even if he's the crown prince of the exalted Han Empire." As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Yi suddenly flicked Void Flash at her, and its tip suddenly appeared behind Luo Xiaoying's neck. The latter's expression changed drastically, and her figure flashed away by over 100 m. When she turned around and looked, her pupils constricted violently because Yang Ye's sword was placed against her son's neck. At this moment, Qin Hao's countenance was ghastly pale. His eyes were filled with fear, and his legs were trembling. He would have probably slumped weakly to the ground if Yang Ye's sword wasn't right against his neck. Luo Xiaoying was just about to attack when Yang Yi moved his sword a little, and then a strand of blood immediately appeared on Void Flash's blade. He said, "Don't move. What if you scare me? I might accidentally make your son's head leave his neck. Wouldn't that be too easy for him? Let my son go and I'll agree to anything you want." Luo Xiaoying stood on the spot. She knew that the Qin clan had offended someone that it couldn't afford to offend. Even though this young man was merely a spirit realm profounder, his strength was something that even some Exalt realm experts couldn't compare to. How could there be no power standing behind such a genius? Moreover, it was definitely not a weak one. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to have killed so many Exalt realm experts of the Qin clan without making a single sound and be completely fearless towards the Ding clan. Yang Yi paid no attention to her. He was just about to torture Qin Hao when a few rays of flowing light shot over swiftly from the horizon. Yang Yi frowned. He stopped thinking about everything else and flicked his wrist, causing a ray of light to shoot into Qin Hao's legs. Qin Hao's eyes opened wide as he let out an extremely miserable and shrill cry. Another ray of light flashed as a thread of sword chi entered his mouth, causing his voice to stop abruptly because he'd lost his tongue. The enormous pain he suffered caused Qin Hao's entire face to warp, but that wasn't the end. Yang Yi suddenly kicked Qin Hao's stomach, and the latter's eyes almost bulged out from their sockets because his dantian had been blasted apart. Luo Xiaoying seemed as if she'd gone mad and pounced at Yang Yi. Her son had been crippled before her very eyes. So, she threw all caution and fear to the wind, and her mind was filled with only madness and killing intent. Even if this fellow before her was the emperor of the exalted Han Empire, she still intended to kill him with her own 2 hands. Clang! A sword within the sword chest on Yang Ye's back transformed into a ray of light that slashed down towards Luo Xiaoying. The latter didn't even give it any thought before she slapped her palm towards it. Hiss! The sword pierced through her palm with ease, and it caused her expression to change drastically. The intense pain she experienced cleared her mind a little, and she hurriedly executed the spatial cage technique to trap that sword. However, right at this moment, another ray of light charged out from within the sword chest on Yang Ye's back and shot swiftly towards her. Another Dao artifact. Luo Xiaoying was horrified. An old man appeared in front of Luo Xiaoying, and he waved his right hand. A strong gale blew forward and struck the sword that was shooting towards Luo Xiaoying. Hiss! The sword merely stopped for a moment before it directly blasted that gale apart. "Eh?" exclaimed the old man. After that, he clenched his palm into a fist and smashed it forward, causing Yang Ye's sword to be instantly blasted flying. He's at least a 5th-rank Exalt Realm expert. Yang Ye's eyes narrowed, and he was just about to attack again when Ding Xiaoyao's voice suddenly resounded. "Young Master Yang, that's enough." Ding Xiaoyao glanced at Qin Hao, and she shook her head slightly when she saw how he looked. After that, she gazed at Yang Yi and said, "Young Master Yang, could it be that you still haven't finished venting your anger?" She continued before Yang Yi could answer her. I'm very sincere in my desire to work together with young Master Yang and the powers that stand behind you, but you refuse to give me face at all. Could it be that you really think that your emotions for a certain period of time are truly more important than having another friend? Yang Yi chuckled and said, Miss Ding, was it I or Qin Hao who started all of this? Ding Xiaoyao was stunned. Yang Yi continued, was it I who wanted to kill him first? Or was it him? Ding Xiaoyao was speechless. Yang Yi spoke once more. Was it he who disrespected my loved ones? Or was it I who disrespected his? Ding Xiaoyao was at a loss for what to say. Yang Yi said, see? It was he who offended me, it was he who wanted to kill me, and it was he who disrespected my loved ones. All I did was give him tit for tat. Could that be wrong? Or do you, Miss Ding, think that only he can kill me, yet I can't kill him? Ding Xiaoyao really didn't know what to say in reply. Yang Yi said, Miss Ding, I saved your life and carried you out of there. Yet I was misunderstood by your fiancé, and he even aroused killing intent towards me and disrespected my loved ones. Why didn't you say anything about him but keep making it seem like it was I, Yang Yi, who was constantly looking for trouble with him? Is it really right to act in that way? Ding Xiaoyao shook her head and said, but he didn't cause any material harm to you. Yet you've slaughtered all the experts in his clan and even crippled him. Yang Yi laughed coldly and said, material harm? Truthfully speaking, if he only targeted me, then I would give you face and just teach him a lesson. But he really shouldn't have disrespected all my loved ones. To be blunt, not to mention that we're only just acquaintances. Even if you were a woman of mine, I would still slaughter anyone close to you if they dared to disrespect my mother. What high-sounding sentiments! The old man who blocked Yang Ye's attack just now spoke coldly. Xiaoyao, why waste your breath on him? Since he dared to attack the Qin clan, then it's equivalent to attacking my Ding clan. Would any other clan dare to attach itself to us if we don't kill him? Moreover, this matter is related to your reputation. If you don't act after your fiancé was attacked, then it would be impossible to prevent all sorts of gossip from spreading. Mother! Right at this moment, the shocked exclaim of a young woman resounded. All of them looked over towards the source of the voice, and they saw that Qin Hao's neck had been twisted, and it was none other than Luo Xiaoying who did it. Yang Ye's eyes narrowed while the profound energy within his body surged. After she twisted Qin Hao's neck, Luo Xiaoying held Qin Hao's corpse in her hands as she walked over to Ding Xiaoyao. Thump! She knelt before Ding Xiaoyao. Ding Xiaoyao hurriedly tried to lift Luo Xiaoying up yet was unable to do so. Xiaoyao, Aunt has never asked anything of you, but I'm asking for something from you now. Please avenge Hauer. As she spoke, she started kowtowing to Ding Xiaoyao. Ding Xiaoyao hurriedly said, Aunt, please stand up. I'll continue kneeling here unless you agree, said Luo Xiaoying. She knew that her own strength was utterly insufficient to avenge her son, and only the Ding clan could accomplish it. Ding Xiaoyao sighed lightly and said, Aunt, why force me like this? Xiaoyao, your cousin brother is dead. He was your fiancé. I know you didn't like him, but are you really that heartless? Luo Xiaoying spoke in a slightly miserable voice. Ding Xiaoyao shook her head and said, there was a sect. That sect had 4 Monarch Realm experts, almost 40 Exalt Realm experts, and countless Spirit Realm experts. That sect wanted to kill him, but not only did it fail, he even attacked them. After that, more than 10 of its Exalt Realm experts perished while countless Spirit Realm experts from that sect lost their lives. Moreover, he even destroyed the tombs of all the seniors of that sect. However, he still left safely in the end. Aunt, do you think my Ding clan can kill him? Luo Xiaoying was stunned while the old man said with shock, Xiaoyao, who is he? The Sword Emperor. Ding Xiaoyao said, he's also Mr. Zhao's son-in-law. The old man's expression changed, and he glanced at Yang Yi before the killing intent in his eyes slowly faded. Not to mention anything else, just Yang Ye's identity as Xiao Tianji's son-in-law made it impossible for the Ding clan to act against him. Young Master Yang, you've probably finished venting your rage by now, right? Ding Xiaoyao gazed at Yang Yi with indifference. Yang Yi glanced at her and said, the one who deserved death is dead, so I'm naturally satisfied. However, Miss Ding, allow me to tell you in advance. I don't like being schemed against. If I find out that you've schemed against me in the future, then I'm really sorry because to be very honest, even I'm afraid of myself when I get angry. Ding Xiaoyao said, Are you threatening me, young Master Yang? Yang Yi nodded. Indeed I am. Miss Ding, you're too intelligent. Truthfully speaking, I'm still quite afraid because the slightest mistake might bring me a huge amount of trouble. And I wouldn't even understand why I was in such trouble. So, I have no other choice but to threaten you. But it looks like my threats aren't effective at all. Ding Xiaoyao frowned a little. She was just about to continue when a wisp of resentment suddenly flashed through Luo Xiaoying's eyes, and then her figure flashed and grabbed Ding Xiaoyao by the throat. This unexpected event caused everyone here to be stunned. Even Yang Yi was stunned. Has she gone mad? Luo Xiaoying, what are you doing? Quickly let Xiaoyao go or I'll destroy your Qin clan. The old man was furious. Destroy my Qin clan? Luo Xiaoying laughed like a mad woman. Is my Qin clan not destroyed yet? Ding Xiaoyao, you bitch. My son died because of you, yet you refuse to avenge him. Since it's like that, then I'll make you accompany him in hell. Ha ha ha. A wisp of sorrow flashed through Ding Xiaoyao's eyes. My status in her heart can't compare to her own son in the end. She wasn't being selfish when she refused to act against Yang Yi. She was just thinking of behalf of her Ding clan. Because Yang Yi had too many people standing behind him to the point that even Luo Jun couldn't kill him, so how could the Ding clan possibly kill him? Not only was the Ding clan unable to kill Yang Yi, it might even suffer his revenge. So, even though she knew her aunt was sad, she had no choice but to make a decision that was beneficial to the Ding clan. But she hadn't expected that her aunt would hate her for it, and even act in this way. At this moment, the emotions in Ding Xiaoyao's heart were extremely complicated. The old man's heart jerked when he heard Luo Xiaoying, and then he said, Luo Xiaoying, aren't you going to think about your daughter? You aren't afraid of death? But is she? Luo Xiaoying's eyes regained a little bit of clarity when she heard this, and then she glanced at Qin Lian's pale face before she couldn't help but let go of Ding Xiaoyao's throat. At this moment, she felt regretful in her heart. She regretted acting rashly. When she heard Ding Xiaoyao earlier, she knew that it was impossible for the Ding clan to avenge her son. At that time, she was overcome by impulse and rage, and she'd committed such actions. Now that her mind had cleared up a little, she finally realized how stupid her actions were. Not only would her actions harm her daughter, it would harm the entire Qin clan, and it made the relationship she'd formed with Ding Xiaoyao over numerous years to vanish without a trace. How foolish of me! Luo Xiaoying gradually released Ding Xiaoyao, and then her figure flashed over to Qin Lian before flashing once more towards the distance. The old man at the side was just about to pursue them when Ding Xiaoyao stopped him and said, Uncle Quan, forget it. Let them go. Xiaoyao, it'll open us up to endless potential troubles, said the old man in a low voice. Ding Xiaoyao shook her head and said, I'm unable to kill them no matter what. Uncle Quan, allow me to act willfully just this once. The old man sighed lightly and didn't speak further upon hearing this. Ding Xiaoyao suddenly said, Young Master Yang, are you going to the Central Territory now? Yang Yi was just about to leave when he heard Ding Xiaoyao, and he hesitated for a moment before he said, Of course. Don't tell me that you're heading there as well. Ding Xiaoyao shook her head and said, Why would I go there? To give my life away. I wanted to tell you to be careful, because the Sky Devil sect and those other sects are looking all over for you. I presume they received Luo Jun's orders. I know you're not afraid of it, but you can dream of arriving safely at the Central Territory now that those sects have joint forces. Yang Ye's face fell when he heard this. Indeed, even though he wasn't afraid of them, it would truly be extremely troublesome if they constantly pursued him. Do you have a way to overcome that? Asked Yang Yi. Ding Xiaoyao shrugged and said, I don't. I can only wish young Master Yang luck. Uncle Quan, let's go. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around and left with the old man. Yang Yi was speechless. Yang Yi rubbed his nose, and then he laughed bitterly as he shook his head. She was clearly taking revenge on him, but he couldn't blame her for it. After all, he'd kicked her earlier and crippled her fiancé now. It was already pretty good that she didn't try to take physical revenge against him, so how could she possibly help him? Yang Yi remained silent on the spot for a while, and then he waved his right hand and released Lu Jianyao from within the ancient sheath. She glanced at the surroundings before she asked, "Is this the ocean of anarchy?" Yang Yi said, "Miss Lu, I'm going to be heading to the Central Territory later. Don't follow me there. Look for an opportunity and return to the Southern Territory yourself." He felt that bringing her along was entirely like bringing a burden along. He wasn't going to tour the Central Territory, so he didn't want to bring such a burden along. Moreover, he had numerous secrets, so he really didn't want to keep someone he didn't trust by his side. "You think I'm a burden to you?" Lu Jianyao spoke with slight anger. Yang Yi rolled his eyes and said, "Miss Lu, don't you think so too? Allow me to be frank. You've probably seen the strengths of my enemies. With the strength you possessed right now, you would probably die 10 times before we even reach the Central Territory. So, please return to Ancient Domain City for your own safety's sake." "I refuse to leave." Lu Jianyao glanced at Yang Yi and spoke in an indisputable tone. "Are you asking for a beating?" Since speaking nicely to her didn't work, Yang Yi intended to use force instead. "Don't you dare!" Lu Jianyao glared at Yang Yi like a furious lioness. Yang Yi chuckled and said, "Miss Lu, do you think you're a match for me? To put it bluntly, what could you possibly do to me if I had ill intent towards you?" Lu Jianyao's expression changed when she heard this, and then her sword swished over to her own neck as she said, If you dare to humiliate me, then I'll rather die than let you succeed." Yang Yi was stunned. "So I'm that sort of person in her eyes?" Yang Yi shook his head and said, "Miss Lu, it's good that you intend to go out into the world to temper yourself, and I approve of your decision. However, you shouldn't do it with me. Going around with me isn't a form of tempering. It's a way to seek death. I'm not trying to scare you, but all the sects here like the Sky Devil sect have started to search for me, and those Exalt Realm assassins from before are probably still looking for me as well. Miss Lu, I can't even protect myself, so how could I possibly protect you?" Lu Jianyao lowered her sword and fell silent. Yang Yi continued, "I promised your father that I would take care of you, but you've seen the current situation for yourself. We're only at the ocean of anarchy now, but we've already been obstructed and besieged by so many people. If we do arrive at the Central Territory, we would be at the exalted Han Empire's territory, so who knows how many assassins we would encounter then. So, listen to my advice and return to Ancient Domain City." She was the daughter of Ancient Domain City's governor, so Yang Yi didn't want to make the relationship between them become bad. Moreover, so long as one didn't go past the limits that he deemed acceptable or touched upon his taboos, then he was quite an understanding person. Lu Jianyao fell silent for a while before she said, "Yang Yi, you're a sword cultivator as well, so you should be aware what returning to Ancient Domain City now would mean to me. We sword cultivators should advance courageously and be fearless of challenges and difficulties, right? Of course, I understand that I would really be a burden to you if I were to follow you. So, I've decided that I'll head to the Central Territory by myself. It'll be my problem if I'm unlucky and suffer calamity, and it isn't related to you at all." As soon as she finished speaking, Lu Jianyao bowed slightly to Yang Yi before she said, "Thank you for taking care of me throughout this period. I'll remember this kindness." Lu Jianyao turned around and walked away upon finishing. "Wait," said Yang Yi. Lu Jianyao turned around, and she couldn't help but frown because she thought that Yang Yi intended to stop her. Yang Yi withdrew 5 talismans and 10 top-grade energy stones before he passed them to her and said, "I have no reason to stop you. Otherwise, I would be standing in the way of your path of the sword. Even though we haven't gotten along well, we can still be considered to have gone through thick and thin together. These talismans and energy stones should be useful to you. Don't die. I hope I'll be able to see you in the Central Territory." Lu Jianyao was stunned. She took them, took a long glance at Yang Yi and said, "Thank you. I too hope that I'll be able to see you in the Central Territory." As soon as she finished speaking, she didn't stay longer and left. As he watched her figure vanish from his field of vision, Yang Yi suddenly felt that she seemed to have become much more mature. In the past, she would absolutely not accept those things from him, and she would even make trouble for no reason. But now, she hadn't just taken them from him, she'd even thanked him. Yang Yi shook his head, and then his figure flashed and vanished on the spot. He had to ride a ship in order to travel to the Central Territory, otherwise it was impossible to fly to the Central Territory even if he was at the Exalt realm. Because violent winds raged throughout the Ocean of Anarchy all year round, and it was even to the extent that there were storms and tornadoes. So, if one were to fly in the air, one would have to resist these tornadoes and storms as well, and the exhaustion of profound energy was enormous. Moreover, the ships were extremely swift, and they weren't inferior in speed to an Exalt realm expert. So, Yang Yi naturally intended to take a ship there. The Ding clan. That old man who Ding Xiaoyao addressed as Uncle Quan said to Ding Xiaoyao upon their return to the Ding clan, "Little girl, I've obtained news that the Sky Devil sect and those other sects seem to have located Yang Yi. At this moment, the Sky Devil sect has dispatched 3 Exalt realm experts to pursue Yang Yi. Moreover, there are countless Spirit Realm and King Realm profounders lying in ambush on the islands that are on the way to the Central Territory. That fellow, Yang Yi, is probably in a very bad situation now." Ding Xiaoyao spoke indifferently. How can he go against Luo Jun if he can't even escape these nobodies? After all, he'll have the whole world as his enemy once he enters the Central Territory. Uncle Quan, I understand your intentions. Our Ding clan really does have only 2 paths right now, and it's either siding with Luo Jun or becoming allies with Yang Yi. Joining Luo Jun's side is practically impossible, but Yang Yi. Ding Xiaoyao fell silent when she spoke up to this point, and then she said, "At this moment, our Ding clan will definitely be looked down upon if we took the initiative to speak about an alliance with the powers that stand behind him. That would be disadvantageous to our clan in the future. So, if we want to be respected and valued, then we must fully eliminate those sects and truly take control of the entire Ocean of Anarchy. Only then would our Ding clan gain sufficient respect and authority in the Southern Territory." The old man grinned and said, "You always take everything into account, but it would probably be difficult for that fellow, Yang Yi, to reach the Central Territory without our Ding clan's help. Shouldn't we lend a hand? After all, he's Mr. Zhao's." Ding Xiaoyao shook her head and said, "Our Ding clan will help him, but not now. I want him to seek our Ding clan's assistance. Otherwise, if we were to take the initiative to help him, then he might not feel grateful and think that it's a matter of course." The old man thought about it for a moment, and then he nodded and said, "You're right. That kid should be given a lesson. He actually dared to kick you and cripple Qin Hao in front of us. If we were to take the initiative to help him, then it wouldn't just be outsiders who would say that our Ding clan is humiliating itself. Even some members of our clan would start talking nonsense. Uncle Quan, I'll trouble you with paying close attention to the actions of those sects. If you notice the forces who are standing behind these sects." When she spoke to this point, a strand of a cold glow flashed within her eyes as she said, "Kill them all." Yes. Yang Yi had to ride a ship in order to reach the Central Territory. However, only the Ding clan and those large sects had such ships. Besides them, only some merchants in the Ocean of Anarchy had them. Yang Yi naturally wouldn't go looking for the Ding clan's help. He wasn't that thick-skinned. On the other hand, he wasn't that stupid to go give himself up to those sections. So, he had no other choice but to look for merchants that possessed such ships. "Young master, you want to travel to the Central Territory?" At the hall of a merchant group called the Ocean of Clouds, an old man asked this question to a young man who stood before him. The young man was naturally Yang Yi. He'd inquired about it from numerous parties and found out that the Ocean of Clouds merchant group frequently traveled to the Central Territory to do business, and this merchant group possessed the one and only ship that was on par with the ships of the Ding clan and those other sects. So he'd gone straight to them. Yang Yi nodded and said, "We can discuss the price." The old man pondered deeply for a moment and seemed to be slightly troubled. "My merchant group is going to transport some goods to the Central Territory tonight, but those goods are extremely precious and require utmost caution. So," Yang Yi withdrew 30 top-grade energy stones and placed them on the table, causing the old man's voice to stop abruptly before a satisfied expression appeared in his eyes while he said in his heart, "He really knows how to do things." The old man was a manager of the Ocean of Clouds merchant group, and he would earn a little extra income every single time the merchant group sent goods to the Central Territory. Taking others on board in secret was one of his methods. Of course, he wouldn't just take any more. For example, he would absolutely not accept Exalt Realm experts, because once they caused trouble on the ship, then it would definitely be extremely troublesome. However, this young man before him was only at the spirit realm, and such a person wasn't a problem at all. The old man took those energy stoned and smiled. "Young master, please head to the docks tonight. I'll take young master aboard when the time comes. Remember that you must be on time." "Thank you." Xianxia nodded, and then he stood up and left. After he left the merchant group, Xianxia looked for a deserted area and started cultivating with a few extreme-grade energy stones. Needless to say, he was still quite weak right now. If it was in terms of experts in the same realm of cultivation, then besides in Nanjing, practically no one else in the Southern Territory was a match for him. However, the problem was that his current opponents were experts at the Exalt Realm or above. He could kill Exalt Realm experts now, but he had to utilize Dao artifacts to do so. If he didn't, then perhaps he could still defeat ordinary Exalt Realm experts, but he could absolutely not kill them, especially if it were experts at the 5th rank of the Exalt Realm or above. Just like Ding Xiang, whom he killed that day. He would have absolutely been the one to be defeated if he didn't have Hong and the others to assist him. Xianxia didn't want to rely on external forces because he was clearly aware that only his own strength was true strength. At this moment, he was at the 2nd rank of the spirit realm, and he could only swing Void Flash 3 times, utilize the sword formation within the sword chest once, and execute the Sword of Elements once at most. In other words, he could only go against one Exalt Realm expert at most. If he was up against the joint forces of 2 Exalt Realm experts, then he would have no choice but to flee. He was going to the Central Territory, and that was the Exalted Han Empire's territory. So there would definitely be countless Exalt Realm experts there waiting for him, so how would he deal with them? At that time, not to mention stopping Luo Jun from obtaining the world portrait, even surviving would be a problem for him. "I'm really a little too weak." Around 2 hours later, 3 black figures suddenly appeared behind Xianxia. Xianxia opened his eyes before Hong, Black 1, and Black 2 immediately started to give him their report, and then his expression slowly turned gloomy as he listened to them. The Sky Devil sect was definitely going to act against him, so he naturally refused to just wait for death to arrive, and he couldn't passively fend off their attacks as well. So, he'd sent Hong and the others out once he parted with Ding Xiaoyao, and he made them gather information. Now, they'd returned with the information they obtained. 25 Exalt Realm experts, over 100 Spirit Realm experts, and countless King Realm profounders. Haha, they really think highly of me. Motherfucker. Do I look like I'm at the fucking Monarch Realm? What's with sending that many experts after me? Xianxia cursed with a gloomy expression on his face. Night. Xianxia arrived at the docks before that manager from the merchant group immediately appeared in front of him. "Why are you only here now? The ship would have left in 15 more minutes." The manager spoke with slight anger. Xianxia was just about to say something when the manager waved his hand and pulled Xianxia up the enormous ship that spanned a length of over 1 kilometer. And he spoke while walking. "Our merchant ship usually prohibits the entrance of outsiders. However, you seemed like a good person to me and were in a rush to travel to the Central Territory, so I felt sympathetic and allowed you to board the ship. However, the high-ups would definitely suspect something if someone extra were to suddenly appear on the ship. So, I've prepared an identity for you. You're my nephew from this moment onward. Understand?" The corners of Xiangxia's mouth twitched. "I seemed like a good person? It was probably my top-grade energy stones that looked good, right?" Xianxia nodded and said, "I'll obey all of Manager Yun's instructions." At this moment, all he wanted was to avoid the pursuit of those 4 sects of the Ocean of Anarchy. He would still have to avoid such a huge group of experts even if he were at the Exalt Realm, let alone the Spirit Realm. Xianxia felt that his strength wasn't bad amongst his peers, but he didn't think that he could be invincible in the Exalt Realm as well. Confidence was a good thing, but conceit was no different than courting death. Manager Yun's expression eased up greatly when he heard Yang Yi, and he said, "The first level is where the goods are stored, and there are experts guarding it. Don't go there or you'll definitely die. The second level is where the servants rest. You aren't a familiar face to them, so don't go there as well, otherwise it might cause some trouble. As for the third level." When he spoke up to this point, Manager Yun's expression became solemn as he said, "The third level is where the young miss and young master rest. You absolutely must not go there. If you were to offend them, then you won't be able to survive no matter how many lives you have." Yang Yi smiled and said, "Manager Yun, how about we do it like this? I'll just follow you, and I'll just do whatever you say. All right?" Manager Yun nodded and said, "You're really sensible kid. You're really promising." Yang Yi felt speechless. The ship was very large. It was over 1 kilometer long, over 300 m wide, and it went very high up as well. There were numerous talisman markings all around the ship, and it was exactly these markings that made it so that this ship could be moved with energy stones instead. This ship could be sailed so long as it had energy stones. As for the consumption of energy stones and the speed of the ship, that depended on the grade of the markings. Besides possessing the ability to move the ship, the talisman markings could be utilized to form a defensive formation and various offensive formations. After all, there were all sorts of dangers in the boundless ocean. According to Manager Yun, the defensive formation was something that even a 5th-rank Exalt Realm expert couldn't break through, whereas the offensive formation could slaughter Exalt Realm experts like dogs if one possessed sufficient energy stones. Yang Yi was quite surprised when he heard this. This ship is that strong. Can slaughter Exalt Realm experts like dogs? Manager Yun really looked down upon Yang Yi for a while when he noticed Yang Yi's surprise, and he said that Yang Yi had grown up in the Southern Territory and possessed no knowledge, so he intended to help Yang Yi widen his knowledge so as to avoid losing face at the Central Territory. Yang Yi didn't mind Manager Yun's disdain, and he even modestly sought guidance. So, Yang Yi gained a huge amount of information from their conversations. As they conversed with each other, they'd arrived on the ship without even realizing it. However, they were stopped by a guard at the 9th rank of the spirit realm when they were about to step foot onto the ship. But Manager Yun had spoken a few words and gave 2 top-grade energy stones to the guard before the guard smiled, nodded, and allowed the 2 of them to ascend the ship. Manager Yun provided Yang Yi with a random room, and he asked Yang Yi to stay there and not go anywhere else. After that, he left. The room wasn't large, and there were some miscellaneous items in it. It was obvious that it was an unused room. Yang Yi didn't mind it. He just sat cross-legged on the ground and started to cultivate. At this moment in time, he didn't want to waste any time at all, and he intended to cultivate as long as he had the time, because he truly didn't have a sense of security in this world without possessing formidable strength. A while later, he suddenly heard footsteps from the hallway, and it caused Yang Yi to frown. Meanwhile, the door to the room was opened before Manager Yun walked in with another person. The person he brought was a young man around the age of 17. He was a handsome man in a wide blue robe. The young man was slightly stunned when he saw Yang Yi, and he had clearly not expected someone else to be here. "Right, both of you stay right here and don't go anywhere else. Understand?" As soon as he finished speaking, Manager Yun turned around and left, and only Yang Yi and the young man remained within the room. Yang Yi thought for a moment before he came to an understanding. The young man was probably in the same situation as he was, a stowaway. When he thought up to this point, Yang Yi withdrew his gaze and continued cultivating with his eyes closed. The young man seemed to be quite vigilant towards Yang Yi, and he remained quite far away. Only his gaze was constantly on Yang Yi. Yang Yi opened his eyes and glanced over when he sensed this gaze, and then his gaze descended onto the young man's chest in the end. With the strength he possessed, just a glance at the young man before him had allowed him to discern that this was no young man, and it was a woman dressed as a man. However, it wasn't his business at all. She was just a stowaway like him, and they just happened to meet here. "Hey, are you from the Southern Territory?" The young man remained silent for a long time before he spoke abruptly. Yang Yi opened his eyes, glanced over, and then nodded. Then you definitely know in Nanjing. The young man spoke with slight excitement. Yang Ye's expression changed a little, but the young man continued. Is she really invincible amongst those of the same realm of cultivation? Is she really capable of killing Exalt realm experts? Right. Did she really inherit the inheritance of the martial god? The young man seemed to be quite excited and had unconsciously walked over to Yang Yi. Yang Yi nodded when he noticed that there was nothing unusual about the young man's expression. He was quite amused in his heart because he hadn't expected that Nanjing's reputation would be so great to actually have admirers. However, it made sense to him because Nanjing was a woman that many men couldn't compare to, so it was normal for women to admire her. The young man grew even more excited when he saw Yang Yi nod and said, "Good, as expected of the person that I and Xiaonan admire. Right? I heard that the Sword Emperor Yang Yi has knelt before her as well. Is that true?" Yang Ye's eyelids twitched, and he clenched his right hand before he said calmly, "You know Yang Yi? Does anyone in the Southern Territory not know him?" And Xiaonan said, "It isn't just the Southern Territory. His reputation has even started to spread through the ocean of anarchy. He can even be considered to possess a little fame in the Central Territory as well. I investigated him after I arrived at the Southern Territory. His strength isn't bad and didn't insult the title of Sword Emperor. However, I truly look down upon him." As she finished speaking, and Xiaonan's face was covered in disdain. A slight smile had gradually appeared on Yang Ye's face as he listened to her. But his smile had suddenly frozen on his face when he heard the last few words she spoke. Yang Yi glanced at her and spoke with a calm expression. "Why do you look down upon him? He's narrow-minded, vengeful, cuts others down like flies, and does everything according to his own personal whims. The slightest displeasure he experiences would end with him killing someone or annihilating their entire family. I really don't know how such a person could become the Sword Emperor. In my opinion, the name Sword Demon suits him much better. Right, I heard he's extremely perverted as well. He clearly has a Tao companion yet seeks out women everywhere. Should I not look down upon such a person who can't concentrate on a single lover?" And Xiaonan clenched her fists tightly as she spoke furiously. The corners of Yang Ye's mouth twitched, and he had quit an unsightly expression on his face. "Humph! If I encounter a person like him, I'll definitely castrate him so that he can't bring disaster upon the women of this world." And Xiaonan tightened her clenched fists and spoke in a furious tone. "Can you defeat him?" Yang Yi spoke flatly. "My grandfather can." And Xiaonan paused for a moment and continued. "My father can as well. Right, my uncles as well. Oh, my older brother should be able to defeat him too." The corners of Yang Ye's mouth twitched. He shook his head and paid no further attention to her. And Xiaonan seemed to be very interested in chatting and continued. "I purposely traveled to the Southern Territory this time to see in Nanjing. Unfortunately, I wasn't even able to catch a glance of her. How infuriating. Fortunately, I heard she has gone to the Central Territory. Hee. I'll definitely be able to meet her once I arrive at the Central Territory. At that time, I'll definitely ask her why she's so formidable." Yang Yi was just about to speak when he sensed that the ship had started to move, and this allowed Yang Yi to heave a slight sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately, no mishaps have occurred. Otherwise, I'd have to waste even more time here. At this moment, he couldn't afford to waste any time at all. Every single minute longer he stayed here was another minute that Luo Jun had to seize the world portrait. If Luo Jun succeeded, then the consequences would be unimaginable. Actually, Yang Yi didn't want to be in such a passive position. But it couldn't be helped because he was the weaker party, and he could only passively react and retaliate against whatever Luo Jun threw at him. However, if he were able to obtain the world portrait, then he could turn the entire situation around. But Yang Yi was aware that it was definitely extremely difficult to obtain the world portrait because the Central Territory was the exalted Han Empire's territory. Even though Monarch Realm experts couldn't act against him, the exalted Han Empire still had a huge amount of Exalt Realm experts. It wasn't difficult for him to kill 1 or 2 Exalt Realm experts now. After all, he possessed numerous Tao artifacts. But could he go against a dozen or even more Exalt Realm experts? He definitely couldn't. In short, his strength was still too weak. If he could attain the Exalt Realm or the peak of the Spirit Realm, then he would be in a much better situation. Because he wouldn't have to be so worried when he utilized Tao artifacts once he attained the peak of the Spirit Realm. And Xiaonan suddenly said, why do you look a little like Yang Yi? Yang Ye's eyelids twitched, and then a cold glow flashed through the depths of his eyes. Wait, how could you possibly be that demon, Yang Yi? And Xiaonan rejected her own words and shook her head. I heard that Yang Yi is extremely unsociable and likes to kill for no reason. Even though you aren't very nice, I'm able to sense that you aren't bad. Alas, why did you have to grow to possess a similar appearance as that demon? Alas. The corners of Yang Ye's mouth twitched while the killing intent in his eyes vanished, and he spoke calmly. You've met Yang Yi? And Xiaonan shook her head and said, I haven't. However, I've seen a portrait of him. As she spoke, she withdrew a portrait and passed it to Yang Yi as she said, Look! Yang Ye's eyelids twitched upon taking a glance at it because it was none other than himself. The only difference was that he was drawn to seem too cold and unsociable. Actually, you look more and more like Yang Yi as I continue looking at you. And Xiaonan stared fixedly at him as she spoke. I am Yang Yi. It was a rare moment where Yang Yi spoke the truth for once. And Xiaonan was stunned. And then she roared with laughter. She laughed for a while before she pointed at him and said, You really are brave to actually pretend to be that demon. Be careful. If that demon finds out, then he'll skin you, pull out your bones, and kill everyone you know. Is Yang Yi really that crazy and unreasonable? Yang Yi couldn't help but ask this question. He was aware that his reputation wasn't good, but he hadn't expected that it would be horrible to such an extent. He should be. And Xiaonan said, In any case, anyone in the Southern Territory that speaks of him would experience a visible change in their expression. Right, I heard that he annihilated an entire clan called the Baiming clan in the imperial capital. He didn't even spare the children and elderly. You're from the Southern Territory, so you should have heard of it, right? Is it true? It is, said Yang Yi. And Xiaonan stood up, clenched her fists, and said furiously, If I and Xiaonan encounter such a crazy and unreasonable demon, then I'll definitely castrate him and beat him up. I and Xiaonan will uphold justice for the heavens. When she spoke up to this point, she gazed at Yang Yi and said, You'll support me, right? Oh, you definitely will. Anyone with a sense of justice would definitely not allow such a demon to continue bringing disaster to the world. Yang Yi gazed at her with astonishment. Uphold justice for the heavens? Support her to castrate myself? If she weren't around the age of 17, he would have thought that it was Bauer in disguise. Needless to say, she was definitely the granddaughter or daughter of an extraordinary expert. Otherwise, an ordinary clan would be absolutely unable to foster such a weirdo. Bang! Suddenly, the ship shook violently. The things within the room instantly started to roll about while Xiaonan almost fell to the floor. Yang Yi frowned. Meanwhile, the door was opened before Manager Yun walked in and said, Don't be anxious. It's just a level 24 storm, and it'll pass very soon. Bang! He'd just finished speaking when the ship trembled violently once more. This time, it trembled even more violently than before, and it felt like the ship was about to capsize. Yang Ye's brows that had just eased up were knit together once more. It's absolutely not a storm. The ship is being attacked. Manager Yun's countenance turned pale as he said, Just stay here and don't go anywhere. I'll go have a look. Yang Yi and Xiaonan exchanged glances before both of them walked out successively from the room. At the deck, a veiled woman who wore a light gauze veil over her face and a young man were standing here, and both of them had solemn expressions in their eyes. There were a few dozen guards standing behind them, and 4 of them were Exalt Realm experts while the rest were Spirit Realm experts. However, all of them had extremely solemn expressions on their faces as well because a strange and enormous fish that wasn't any smaller than the ship was right before it. It was an Exalt rank oceanic creature. A winged shark. Big sister. The winger sharks usually move about deep within the ocean, So has one appeared here now? The young man by the veiled woman's side asked this question in a low voice. I don't really understand it as well, but I presume that someone intends to seize this batch of goods from our Ocean of Clouds merchant group, said the veiled woman in a flat voice. How could that be possible? The young man was puzzled. Our Yi clan has notified the Ding clan and all the other sects before it came to the Ocean of Anarchy to do business. How could they possibly target us? Could it be that someone else has set their eyes on us? The veiled woman shook her head and said, No matter who it is, we'll know very soon. Uncle Yun, I'll be troubling you to deal with this animal. Don't allow it to live. I really want to see exactly which ignorant fool dared to attack my merchant group's ship. That person is really tired of living. Hee. Leave it to me. An old man behind her flashed and directly appeared above the winged shark before he flipped his palm and grasped a sword in his hand. Countless rays of light rained down like raindrops with a single swung of his right hand. In an instant, the rays of light from his sword were like dazzling suns that seemed extremely striking beneath the veil of night. The rays of light instantly enveloped the winged shark, and it wasn't long before a shrill cry resounded from it. However, it was still alive, and it even shot out an extremely long torrent of water at the old man. The old man didn't dare act carelessly against it at all. He held his sword tightly with both hands before he slashed down forcefully against the torrent of water. And then an enormous strand of sword chi flashed out and collided with the torrent. Bang! The water on this entire area of the ocean suddenly seethed as waves that were over 50 m tall rose up in the surroundings. However, these waves merely caused the ship to shake a little. Uncle Yun's sword technique has grown even stronger. I heard that the Southern Territory has a Sword Emperor. I think that Sword Emperor would definitely not dare to call himself the Sword Emperor if he saw Uncle Yun's sword technique. Right? The young man by the veiled woman's side chuckled as he spoke. The woman glanced indifferently at him and said, I know you're not convinced of Xianxia's strength and desire a battle with him. I support your intentions, but you must remember not to be careless. Even Mu Jun perished at his hands. So do you think he's someone with an undeserving reputation? Many people in this world die because of their own carelessness. Master has repeated this principle to you on countless occasions. So are you still unable to commit it to memory? The young man seemed to fear the veiled woman, and he laughed with embarrassment and didn't dare speak again. The old man in midair had a solemn expression, because he knew that he'd underestimated that Exalt Realm oceanic creature. Its defensive strength was much more formidable than he'd imagined. So, even though his sword chi had struck it, his sword chi wasn't able to cause it any material harm at all. The old man pondered deeply for a moment before the profound energy within him started to surge violently because he knew that he had to be serious against this enemy. Right at this moment, a wave of fluctuation arose in the sky above the winged shark, and then 24 middle-aged men and a woman appeared above the winged shark. At the same time, 3 other ships that were on par with the Ocean of Cloud Merchant Group's ship had suddenly appeared in the surroundings. Moreover, all 3 of those ships were filled with spirit realm experts. The expression of the old man who the veiled woman addressed as Uncle Yun had changed violently upon witnessing this scene. Besides that, the veiled woman's expression had changed a little as well because those figures above the winged shark were all Exalt Realm experts. Everyone on the ship seemed as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Who exactly are all of you? Said the veiled woman in a gloomy voice. A middle-aged man took 2 steps forward, and then he stopped in midair and said, I'm the 4th elder of the Sky Devil Sect. We have no ill intent against your merchant group. We only seek to ask for a certain person from your merchant group. Hand him over and we'll leave immediately without disturbing your merchant group at all. The Ocean of Clouds merchant group had some background as well, so the Sky Devil Sect naturally didn't dare to offend it rashly. Who? Asked the veiled woman. The middle-aged man grinned, and then he glanced at the ship and said, Yang Yi, there's no need to hide. Since we've made an appearance here, it represents that we're completely sure that you're here. This is out of the Ding clan's scope of influence, so no one will be able to protect you now. Come out obediently and receive your death. Don't worry, we won't make you die a very unsightly death. After all, you're a sword emperor. Yang Yi? The Sword Emperor? All of them were stunned. And Xiaonan, who was by Yang Ye's side, was stunned. After that, she swiftly turned to look at Yang Yi before she screamed and took a dozen steps backward. She pointed at Yang Yi and spoke with a trembling tone. You're that demon. You! Yang Yi rolled his eyes at her. She is so. Yang Yi shook his head and paid no further attention to her, and then he took a deep breath. He'd thought that he could hide from them, but he hadn't expected that he would still be discovered by them. Yang Yi walked slowly towards the deck under the surprised and curious gazes of everyone. At this moment, the veiled woman and the young man were looking at Yang Yi with curious expressions as well. It was especially so for the young man, as there was also excitement and battle intent in his eyes. Hey! Right at this moment, and Xiaonan's voice suddenly sounded out from behind Yang Yi, and he turned around to look at her, and Xiaonan hesitated for a moment before she said, Great demon, if you die later, then I'll help you bury your corpse out of consideration for the conversation that we just had. Yang Ye's face twitched as he glared fiercely at her. He decided to not speak a word to her because he really couldn't speak with her like a normal person. Yang Yi turned around as Void Flash appeared in his hand. 2 steps later, the blue sword chest appeared on his back. When he arrived at the center of the deck, the 9th Hell Sword Wings had appeared on his back as well. According to rumor, Yang Yi possesses a natural treasure and an extremely formidable Dao artifact. Looks like he really is the Sword Emperor. The young man by the veiled woman's side spoke with slight excitement. Haha! As expected of the Sword Emperor. You're able to maintain such indifference and composure even when facing our group of so many Exalt Realm experts. Truly makes me feel embarrassed. After all, I didn't even dare to speak loudly when I faced an Exalt Realm expert at your age, said the middle-aged man. Over 20 Exalt Realm experts, and there are even 4 at the 5th rank. TSK. Your Sky Devil Sect. No, I should say that Luo Jun really does think highly of me to prepare such a force, said Yang Yi. It can't be helped. Even though you are at the Spirit Realm, ordinary Exalt Realm experts aren't a match for you. The Mortal Emperor naturally sent so many of us so that we can kill you in one go, because he doesn't want to give you any chances. Now, how about I allow you to take your own life? If I were to do it, then the dignified Sword Emperor might have no corpse left when I'm done, said the middle-aged man.